So today I am surrounded by figs. That's coming up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you today on a, do I need to say it, really warm 4th of July. So it's a Wednesday, July 4th, 2018. And actually, you know what, we're in a place where almost all of this started. Well, I guess it was pretty close. One of our first videos, and I'll link it here for you, we were actually talking about these two trees. These are our brown turkey figs. So these are two of our oldest trees here on the property. When I say old, that's 4 years old, so it's really not that old. But these are two 4-year-old brown turkey figs. So they are massive trees. Last time we were here, we talked briefly. I did a quick harvest and showed you that, but I want to talk a little bit more about the trees and the varieties. So brown turkey fig. So at least if you're here in the Phoenix area, so we're in Whitman, but we're right next to Phoenix, have a very similar climate. But if you're in the Phoenix area, brown turkey figs are very productive trees. In fact, they have been producing, and we've been harvesting off of this tree now for almost 2 weeks. So it's usually late June, or right around late June, we start to see ripe fruit, and we really get ripe fruit right on in through the fall. In fact, as this starts to lose its leaves in November, in that November time frame, we still have fruit on here trying to ripen up. Now that being said, it does have two crops. It has a Breba crop, which is fruiting on older wood, so last year wood or even older, and then it has its main crop, which technically is the fall. Here in Arizona, it kind of runs hand in hand. So we start harvesting it now, which would be the Breba crop, but also the main crop is on here as well. It continues to grow, and it continues to produce fruit all summer long. So we get a little bit of a lull, I would say probably August. So the month of August is a little bit of a lull. Not a whole lot of ripe fruit on here, but it still is growing very well, and just amazing trees. So that's the fruiting. So most of the fruit production is on new growth. So we do prune these heavily. I did not do a pruning video on our figs this year. My plan this winter is to do some additional varieties, so I can show you guys how we prune some of our other varieties, and the fig tree is on that list, so you get an idea of how we prune these trees. So now as far as size, so 4-year-old trees, keep that in mind. When we bought these trees, we got both of them from Home Depot, so I believe they were 5-gallon buckets, but they were a stick. So they were a stick about 3 or so feet tall. I want to say probably about the width of my thumb, so that diameter of my thumb. And we did cut them back just a smidge and then let them grow. We did get fruit the very first year. So we got fruit on them the first year, put them in February of 2015, and got fruit that first year. Only a couple, but we did get a couple pieces of fruit. And then a year later, boy, we already started getting very good production. Last year, our production was just huge. So we got a few hundred figs off of these two trees. And this year, it is far outpacing that. In fact, I'm gonna say we probably have harvested in the last week or two almost as much as we harvested that entire first month last year. Now I pruned these back. I pruned them back pretty heavy. In fact, if Lori wants to squeeze in just a little bit, you can see my pruning cut here. So this is one of our taller branches. So there's a pruning cut right here, and this is all new growth that's coming up. And you'll see figs all over that. I do open up the center, so kind of hard to see in this particular tree, but the center is open, and that center is about maybe about 3.5 or so feet tall, 3 to 3.5 feet tall, just underneath, about the same height as my hip. So probably going to go with about 3 feet, 3.5 feet. And so that's the center of the tree. But you can see, I don't know if Lori can actually really kind of see the width of them. They're very wide trees. One of the things that we recall when we were planting these trees we actually spaced them out quite a bit. In fact, our typical spacing is on average about 12 feet between trees in the same row. These two trees are in the same row. And we actually put these trees about 13 feet apart, almost 14 feet apart. And they're literally growing into each other, even though I pruned them back pretty extensively. So of course, pruning them, because you get that fruiting on the new growth, you do want to prune them down, and that way you can reach the fruit. One of the things when we're harvesting the fruit, these do give off a latex. I'll show you that when I pick one of the ripe fruit here in just a minute. Even when they're fully ripe, you'll get just a little bit of the latex, almost none, but we usually pick them about a day early or so because they have a tendency to dry out pretty hard. So we do cover them with organza bags. I've talked about that before in some of our videos. This is actually the first tree that we utilize the organza bags, and I'll tell you what, if you don't put something on the fruit, you will lose your fruit to birds, guaranteed. Birds love these fruit. I can't blame them. We do too. They're very nutritious and they taste amazing. So we do cover them with organza bags. And the challenge with these trees, there's a lot of work involved with actually getting a yield from these trees. We have to protect the fruit, so we come out, they ripen over a couple days. So we're out here every single day going through the tree and covering fruit that we see that's just starting to ripen a day or two from fully ripening. If we don't catch them then, the birds are going to get them first. Secondarily, so we got birds. Second thing would be ants. We do get ants that'll get up into the fruit. So we do see that from time to time. The organza bags will block some of them, but not all. So if you get a nice tight, snug wrap on the fruit, it's usually not too bad, but you do have a tendency to get bird damage and then also some ants. So what we always do is we actually break open the fruit just to make sure we don't have that. And then from time to time, we do get some mold inside. It kind of depends on the humidity. It's been very, very dry still this year. Our monsoon season hasn't really hit, and you can kind of feel it today. We're getting some clouds back up north, which is where they come from, but for the most part, we haven't gotten that humidity yet, so we're not seeing a lot of mold, but we do see it still from time to time. Watering, we water these trees regularly, just like we do the rest of our main fruit trees. So we use 3 4-gallon per hour emitters. This time of year, we have those running 3 hours, 3 times a week. So in the end, we get a lot of water on these 2 trees, and they need it. We don't add any additional water to that. They do just fine with that standard watering, so we don't add any additional watering in the rings that we create around our trees for additional water while they're fruiting. They do just fine with that amount of water. So without further ado, I'm going to have Lori squeeze in just a little bit. We kind of went through and we found a couple of really good ripe fruit. You'll see our organza bags. We use purple organza bags, so it's very easy for us to see them once they go on the tree. Just kind of looking around, you'll see there's a lot of green figs all in through these trees. So we've got hundreds of figs that are still in the process of ripening, and they are everywhere. And this is new growth. We did find one that's good here. I do want to show you guys this branch. So this is just a small branch that's grown from that main branch. So this is all new growth this year. And then it's got just I don't know, it's a lot of fruit. What do we got? 4, 8, 12, so there's about 14 or so pieces of fruit. We've got 2 of them covered. This one feels pretty good. He's probably close to ripe, but what I'm going to do, I want to pick this bottom one. So what you do to pick these is you just kind of pull back and they pop right off. So it should come off real easy. I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the organza bag. Let me show you the fruit itself. Oh yeah, this is nice and ripe. So, so in the end, you'll see I've got just a tiny bit of latex coming out of that, and it's just this sticky, caustic stuff that's right at the top. In the end, if you pick them too ripe, they'll literally start just bleeding that latex material, but he's just fine. I'm going to save this bag because we're going to reuse this bag. I've got a couple pieces of fruit on this tree that are starting to turn brown, so we'll actually be covering those. But what I want to do while we're down here is let's try the fruit. So figs, obviously I'm going to stay away from this end. It's fresh off the tree, so there still will be some latex right around this part of the fruit. Probably could have left it another day, but we'll wind up with ants, potentially some mold, and then we do have birds trying to kind of dig through there. But I will kind of stay away from this end. This end is where that latex will be. You won't have it on this end. So it does have an eye. It has an open eye. That's what those are called right here. That's where ants have a tendency to get in. And then, of course, you will find mold from time to time, and that's because you have that open eye. If we were in an area that had wasps that actually, I don't recall the name of the wasp, but there's a wasp that actually would fertilize these, so it actually pollinate these fruit. We don't have those wasps here, so we don't have that going on in there as far as eggs or anything, but every once in a while we see some ants. So what I typically will do is actually open this in half, which is what I'm going to do now. So all you do, it's pretty soft on the bottom, so all you do is just take your fingers, push them into that eye, and then you open the fruit. So now this fruit, these are again some of our early cropping fruits. So these fruits have a tendency to be very big. So it's a good sized fruit. I mean, put that back together, it's the size of the palm of my hand nearly. So as far as size wise, I'm gonna say it's it's bigger than a golf ball. So probably somewhere between a billiard ball and a golf ball as far as size. They get bigger than this and also smaller. But then back to the fruit itself. So you can see it's got really good ripening in the middle. It's a little on the light side, so these have a tendency sometimes to be a little darker as far as the flesh is concerned. And I don't know whether the camera's going to pick it up or not, but there's a lot of moisture in there. So it's a really, really juicy fruit. And ooh, I can't wait to try it, which I can't help myself. I'm going to try it now. You guys. Okay. You guys are going to think that I just say this because I want to say it, but man. Oh, that is good. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to save the other half for Lori. Okay, man, that's good. Okay, so how can I describe this? So if you've never had a fig before, the texture is kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of mushy. The best way I can describe it would be a ripe banana. So a really, really ripe banana is kind of the texture. It does have, I'm not gonna say seeds, but kind of does, I guess it does kind of have some seeds. So there are some seeds. So it's got almost a little bit of some crunchiness, but not much. It is very juicy, but it's kind of a dry juicy. So again, more like a banana. As far as the flavor, you know, I've heard people try to describe this and I'm not sure I'm going to do any better, but what it tastes like honey. So I do get kind of a taste of honey. So you do have kind of this honey sort of taste or aftertaste, but it's very, very floral. I guess floral would be kind of the best way to describe it. It's very floral, fruity, but it's kind of a mild fruitiness. It's not tart at all, totally sweet. Yeah, honey would be the closest thing I could really use to describe the actual flavor, but not as like pungent sweet, more like a flowery sweet flavor, like a flowery sweet, semi-sweet honey. I guess that's the best I could do. But ultimately, I just wanted to share this with you guys today. These are brown turkey figs. So just want to thank you guys for joining us today. And you know what, if you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to our channel. We got a lot of cool content coming up, especially if you're into fruit trees. As we go through the summer harvest season, we got a couple more varieties we want to show you that are fruiting or will be fruiting here over the next few weeks. But we want to share that with you. Also some trees themselves that aren't necessarily producing for us quite yet, but just beautiful fruit trees that will be producing for us in the future. And then, hey, also, if you can like and share the video, if you got anybody that's into this kind of thing, share the video with them. I really like to share with as many people as possible to kind of show what can really be done in our harsh desert environment. It's amazing what we can do. You know, if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. Lori and I really enjoy reading those and interacting with you guys, answering questions, or actually having people give us suggestions. So any of that kind of stuff, leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to see it. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. So it's 4th of July week. I was going to say weekend. It's not the weekend. So I'm in the maybe I don't know exactly what I'm going to say.